Hi, this is Michael. Welcome back to the second installment of the World War II Book Guide. As I said in the first installment, the book we're going to talk about today is Inside the Third Reich by Albert Speer. Now, for those of you who have an interest in World War II, this book is the book and the author are very well known. It's also very controversial. It's also a very big book. For those of you who may not be as familiar with Albert Speer, he was the Reich Minister of Armaments and War Production in Nazi Germany, and as such was a member of that close inner circle of Adolf Hitler. He was also the only member of that inner circle to survive the war and its immediate aftermath. Hermann Goering, the Reich Marshal Hermann Goering, the chief of the German Luftwaffe and Hitler's number two guy, till they had a bit of a falling out there right at the end. He was found guilty at Nuremberg, and somehow after 18 months in confinement and the day before he was supposed to be hung, or the night before, he managed to kill himself taking cyanide. Heinrich Himmler, Reich Marshal Heinrich Himmler, at the end of the war, realizing the war was lost, decided to put on the uniform of a German sergeant and surrender with the rest of the troops. He was eventually identified, but before they could closely inspect him, he managed to take cyanide and commit suicide as well. Martin Bormann, party secretary of the Nazi Party, Hitler's personal secretary, died trying to escape Berlin. And Joseph Goebbels, the Reich Minister of Public Enlightenment and Propaganda, committed suicide along with his wife after murdering their 6 children. So he was the only one left. Now, he was tried at Nuremberg and sentenced to 20 years at Spandau Prison, which he served, being released in 1966. Interesting thing about this book is it really should have never been written, because we should have hung the Nazi bastard at Nuremberg. Nonetheless, the book has been written. It was a very popular book. It was well marketed, and it created the myth of Albert Speer as the good Nazi. Now, those are two words that never belonged together to begin with, and Albert Speer was anything but. Now, I first read this book when I was about 15 years old, and I was interested in World War II, but I hadn't read greatly, and I didn't have really the philosophical depth to really question this, and I walked away with a positive opinion of Albert Speer, as many people did. Of course, as you learn more about the war and his role in the war, you realize that it was a miscarriage of justice not to hang the son of a bitch. But the book itself, like I said, it's a big book. He's got a lot to say about a lot of things, but the two main themes that make the book interesting, first, are his actual role as Reich Minister and the ability of the German economy to continue to produce the weapons of war in spite of Allied bombing and a number of critical shortages. And for that, he gives himself full credit. While arguably a lot of the groundwork for that was laid by his predecessor, Fritz Todt, who died in a unfortunate and to some suspicious airplane crash. So he gives himself full credit for all that. He accepts no responsibility for the tens of thousands of slave laborers who died to accomplish that. And also, as a member of Hitler's closest inner circle, he takes no responsibility and admits no knowledge of the death camps in the 6 million Jews and several million other people that were killed. Now, that is an absolutely ludicrous discussion, or ludicrous thing to say that he did not know. But where the book really is interesting, and you have to give it that, it's well written, it's a good read, is his discussion of the intrigues that went on within Hitler's inner circle, the folks I just mentioned, and the shifting series of alliances, and how Hitler played those people off against one another. Now, of course, in his typical self-serving way, he finds himself, or portrays himself to be the good person, only looking out for the best in his role as a bureaucrat. But in fact, he was as adroit at this political bureaucracy infighting as anybody else was. But it is a very interesting book. I think it's one that is well worth reading, but read with a fair degree of skepticism. I will mention he did write another book, Albert Speer, Spandau, and that is a diary of his 20 years in Spandau. In a word, it's boring. It is filled with a lot of self-serving, pseudo-philosophical stuff, a few more insights on his relationship with Hitler, but honestly, unless you have a great deal of interest in Albert Speer, I think it's a throwaway. All right, so until next time, this is Michael, the World War II book guy, and next time we will be talking about a book, a fascinating book called Death Traps. Thank you very much.